Fine, if you're going to treat me like that, you won't get to see your grandchild. The son, who had been constantly asking his parents for money, grinned smugly. Hate to disappoint you, but I'm better off than my sister. I have a steady job, and I don't need mom's help anymore. If you want to cut ties, go ahead. We won't let you see our kid when we have one. Stay out of our lives and don't expect us to help with your retirement costs because we won't give you a cent. With that, the two left. In the end, just as my daughter predicted, all they wanted was to take advantage of me and live a rich life. They even used my desire to see my grandchild to manipulate me. I won't let them control me anymore. My name is Mary, and I'm turning 54 this year. After having 2 kids, I divorced their father and managed to get by on the child support he provided. Luckily, I could return to my old job, which helped me cover expenses and save a little. I tried to make up for their father's absence, but I might have been too naive. The reality hit me when my son got married. Mom, could you help out again this month? Well, I guess I don't have much choice. My oldest son, David, married his high school sweetheart, Linda, about 6 months ago. They rented an apartment near my house, saying they were saving up to buy their own place. I even helped pay for a lot of their wedding expenses to support their goals. Still, David would ask me for money with a humble request. He'd tell me how his company was struggling, how his salary and bonuses were not increasing. He'd explain that Linda's parents were sick, and he had to send them money. He shared all kinds of problems with me. The more I listened, the more I felt he was being naive about his role as the family provider. Nevertheless, I kept giving him money for about 6 months after their marriage. Since we lived nearby, they often came over. We frequently shared dinners, and I thought David was bringing Linda over to spend time with me. Even though they were newlyweds, they seemed to prefer being with me rather than spending time alone together. I even hinted at this once, but Linda just said, "Your cooking is so good, Mary, I could eat it every day." Although I was flattered, Linda never showed any interest in learning my recipes or helping me cook. The years went by like this until my daughter, Trisha, started applying to colleges. At that critical time, I asked David and Linda to visit less often, but they still kept asking for money. Once the college applications were done, they went back to their frequent visits. Around that time, Trisha and Linda began to have disagreements. "Mary, your financial help has really saved us. The economy is so tough, and David's company isn't doing well. But that bag you're carrying, Linda, it's designer, isn't it? You seem to be doing pretty well for yourself." "Come on, Trisha, this isn't that expensive. Besides, you always butter up Mom for money. And Linda, don't you ever think of getting a part-time job or something?" "Trisha, that's rude." "Who's being rude here? Don't you feel ashamed relying on your parents for money?" "Well, I do feel sorry for Linda because I'm not earning enough." "No, not to Linda, to Mom." "It's all right, Trisha, let's stop this. We're all going through a tough time. Let's be understanding." It wasn't the first or second time Mary had to intervene between her children like this during meals. She understood Trisha's complaints but believed they needed to endure a bit longer. Mary trusted they would soon say they could stand on their own feet and wouldn't need more financial support. Above all, she didn't want to burden her children with money issues, especially without a father figure around. These thoughts ran through Mary's head as she finished dinner and began cleaning up. As Mary heard Linda speak up, she turned around with a smile, thinking the moment she anticipated had arrived. However, Linda's words caught her off guard. Excuse me." Mary paused, her smile freezing as she waited for Linda to continue. "Thank you so much for your support, Mom. It's really a big help." "It's okay. I'm sorry Trisha can be a bit difficult." "Don't worry about it, but I have a favor to ask." "What is it?" "Recently, I've been thinking about having a child, but I'm not confident about our finances." "What?" "Well, it's hard to have a baby when you're older, isn't it?" "Well, I suppose it can be challenging. So, I was wondering if you could increase the amount of support money a little more." Mary was shocked. David and Linda weren't satisfied with standing on their own feet. They were actually planning to have a child in their unstable financial situation. How could they think about having a child when things were so uncertain? Mary tried to gently suggest it was risky, but Linda seemed annoyed and pushed back. "Don't you want to see your grandchild?" "It's not that I don't want to. I'm an only child, and I really want my parents to meet their grandchild soon. But having a child will make things even tougher, don't you think? I'll get a job too. We'll figure it out. David assures me we can handle it." Despite Mary's concerns, Linda insisted they would manage fine and there was nothing to worry about. Reluctantly, Mary agreed to increase their monthly allowance from $1,000 to $1,200. When she shared this with Trisha, her daughter was upset, saying, "Mom, they're taking advantage of you." But Mary still hoped for the day when her children would be independent. A few years after I increased their allowance, David came to our house alone. He knew I was off from work that day and seemed anxious to talk. "Is Trisha here?" "I think she's studying in her room." "Why, do you need something?" "No, it's okay. I just have something to ask of you, Mom." "I hope it's not bad news." "Well, I was wondering if you could increase the allowance a little more." I had expected it from David's demeanor, but I was deeply disappointed that both he and Linda continued to ask for money without any remorse. I let out a heavy sigh and finally, in a stern voice, confronted David. "Enough is enough. How long do you plan on relying on your parents?" No, you're misunderstanding. Linda has been getting tests done at the hospital." "Is Linda sick?" "No, not like that. She's been getting tests done for childbirth, and it's turning out to be more expensive than we thought. We're short on cash. That's why I warned you about the risks of having a child without proper planning. What will you do if something unexpected happens? If the child needs medical care or if one of you falls ill, begging me for money isn't a solution." "Don't be so upset. I didn't expect the tests to cost this much." "Isn't that strange?" I turned around at the sudden interruption to see Trisha, who had apparently been in the living room. David looked irritated, trying to hush her, but Trisha cut him off and approached. "What kind of tests are you talking about for childbirth? Wouldn't a pregnancy test be enough to know if she's pregnant?" "I'm not sure. Linda went to the hospital alone. All I know is we're short on money." "Why did you let Linda go alone for something so serious? Usually, couples go together to see the doctor, right?" "David, you're off today, aren't you?" "Don't interfere. You're just a kid who doesn't understand pregnancy." "You're the one who doesn't understand, David." There was some arguing, but David couldn't counter Trisha's points and reluctantly left. While I thought Trisha had a valid argument, I asked her, shouldn't we give them some leeway, considering their situation? She sighed at me. "Mom, really? What do you mean? They're just after money. Their excuses are probably not true." "Why would you say that?" Unable to hold back, Trisha went to her room and returned with her smartphone. She showed me several pictures. It was Linda's expensive bag. Linda claimed it's a cheap one, but I think it's real. She mocked my bag, calling it pathetic, and laughed. "This bag costs $1,200, the same as the monthly allowance." "Yeah, and it's a high-end brand. No matter how cheap she says it is, she had a different expensive bag each time she visited. I think she's just using the allowance for these things." "You might be right. Linda had so many different bags. She was laughing at you behind your back, thinking you didn't notice." Then Trisha showed me a recording. It was a conversation between Linda and Trisha, recorded when I was at work and Linda had come over. "Trisha, I know you don't care about money and only carry cheap bags, right? Could you ask your mom to increase the money she sends me? You did something like this before and got money from mom, didn't you? An extra $200 isn't enough. How about $1,200? She thinks she's supporting her son in his dreams with just $1,200. She should give us more, especially if she wants to see her grandchild." How bold. Don't you think it's better for young people to spend money rather than older people hoarding it? "Hey, Mom, are you still going to keep sending them money after they said all this?" Trisha's voice was clear and firm, revealing she had secretly recorded their conversation on her phone. Hearing it, I felt both disappointed and deeply sorry for Trisha. She had witnessed her brother and his wife begging their own mother for money. It was a wake-up call for me. I decided I needed to have a serious talk with David and Linda. I need to talk to David and Linda. "I'm glad. If you're going to do that, I'll support you however I can." "Thank you." The next day, I invited them over to my house. Linda arrived with one of her expensive bags, looking pleased. Trisha and I sat down with them in the living room. "I'm going to stop sending you money." "What? What are you talking about? We can't handle this kind of surprise." "That's right, Mom. My medical expenses are adding up and it's causing me a lot of trouble. Why don't you save your money instead of buying those expensive bags?" Initially trying to be humble and win my favor, Linda sighed heavily when I mentioned the bag. "Don't you want to see your grandchild?" "I would worry about a child born to parents who are not financially responsible." So you're not going to help us even though your son is in trouble? I've supported you enough. I've been sending you money for 10 years now, David. It's time for this to stop. It was you. You must have said something to Mom. Trisha had nothing to do with this. It's my decision based on your actions. As I firmly stated my decision, David and Linda fell silent. I felt relieved that we could resolve things after a serious conversation. But then David scoffed and raised his voice. Well, fine. If you're going to insult me like this, then forget about ever seeing your grandchild. What are you talking about? Weren't you the one disrespecting Mom just now? You kept sending us money because you thought I was worthless, right? That's right. You kept giving us money because you thought David couldn't manage, right? What's your point? Sorry to say, unlike you, I'm actually capable. I've been earning my own money, so I don't need Mom's help anymore. You can stop giving us your pocket change. You're blaming us, yet you're admitting you can't survive without the money, right? Yeah, that's right, but don't expect us to support you in your old age after treating us like this. And even if we have a child, you won't see them. Stay out of our lives. With those words, they stormed out. Trisha's earlier warnings rang true. They were just draining me and wasting the money. Worse, they exploited my desire to see my grandchild. Trisha looked satisfied as I pondered the situation. Don't worry, Mom. They'll come crawling back soon enough. But from now on, it's a new game. Trisha spoke with certainty, and she was right. Just 6 months later, David showed up at the house in his work clothes, clutching his credit card statement. Listen to me, Mom. Linda's out there spending my money on bags and stuff like it's nothing. Oh, and why are you surprised now? That's harsh, Mom. Well, didn't she always behave like that even when she was receiving $1,200 from me each month? $1,200. She told me she was only getting $500. You didn't even know how much allowance I was giving to your wife, did you? That's disappointing. Mary recalled how she used to put the money in an envelope for them. She felt a headache coming on, realizing her son hadn't even bothered to check the amount before spending it. She's spending that $1,200 on all sorts of useless things, and our savings are dwindling fast. That's been the pattern. I don't understand why you didn't see it earlier, Mary said, her words also a self-critique of her past actions. Perhaps now, in a similar situation, David might understand her feelings. But he couldn't rein in Linda, and he continued to rely on Mary for money. There seemed to be no end to their arguments, with Linda's spending outpacing their income. It was unsurprising they couldn't save even with $1,200 a month handed to them. Observing their poor financial management, Mary couldn't help but question where she went wrong in raising them. Yet she continued to follow Trisha's advice, unsure of what else to do. Mom, I don't know you moved. Read the message I received about 10 days after the move. Trisha had anticipated that David and Linda would come asking for money again, so as a precaution, we sold our house and moved to an apartment near Trisha's workplace. We didn't share our new address with them. As predicted, they went to our old place and, finding us gone, sent frantic emails. David's emails were filled with apologies and lectures about how he wouldn't care for my old age or his children's future. If they're this desperate, I wonder if they treated Linda's parents the same way. I doubt it. Linda's parents are like her, always looking for handouts, Trisha informed me, sharing what she had learned about Linda's family. It became clear that from the $1,200 I used to give them, Linda had been passing on money to her parents. It explained how they managed such high expenses each month, and now, with their disposable income gone, it seemed David and Linda were feeling financial pressure from Linda's parents. I was speechless at how my son and daughter-in-law continued to rely on others. After seeing the emails, Trisha simply said, "I told you so," and blocked them. I felt no sympathy or pity for David and Linda, even if they apologized. They were proud of their education and qualifications, so they should work hard together. Absolutely, Trisha. Enough trouble with David. I've helped him out, even dipping into my savings while working, but I've done enough. From now on until you find a good partner, we'll support each other as mother and daughter.